Sneaker collabs have become a time-honored tradition for the collector community. But have you ever wondered just how they started out? As surprising as it might sound, sneakers weren't always the go-to footwear for people around the world. They were once considered to be solely for athletes, and collabs with major celebrities along with some savvy marketing helped introduce them to the masses. Despite that, recent events have made them seem like these once prized pairs just don't capture the public like they used to. So let's take a look at the rise and fall of sneaker collaborations, starting with a look at their early history. Technically speaking, the first ever sneaker collab happened in 1934. Yep, you heard that right. And what's even more peculiar is that the sneakers in question were a pair of Converse. As for the celebrity involved in this collab, it was the one and only basketball extraordinaire Chuck Taylor, with his signature making these otherwise standard Converse a hot item for regular folk. Nowadays, the Chuck Taylor Converse All-Star is a pair that anyone would be glad to own. So the next time you put them on, just know that they have a history stretching back to before World War II. Following this, the Canadian badminton legend Jack Purcell provided his John Hancock to another pair of Converse All-Stars. In both of these occasions, the athletes gave significant input into the design process. They weren't just endorsing the pairs, they were also making sure they were up to scratch. It's fair to say that Converse was way ahead of its time because there were basically no other sneaker collabs for nearly half a century. If you want to find out about the next wave of collabs, we have to fast forward the clock to the 1970s. That's when NBA legends like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar started endorsing sneakers. It was a pretty novel concept at the time, but the idea of endorsements had started to evolve. These were signature pairs expressly associated with the athletes in question, with Walt Frazier, Arthur Ashe, and Stan Smith getting in on the action as well. Of course, when you think about signature pairs, there's one endorsement in particular that comes to mind. It's a pair that needs no introduction, one that defined an entire generation of footwear, with a silhouette so iconic that it's become an institution in its own right. I'm talking about the Air Jordan 1, arguably the greatest pair of shoes of all time. Partnering up with MJ was an inspired choice by Nike, and Peter Moore, Tinker Hatfield, and Bruce Kilgore did an amazing job with the design. It's hard to describe just how revolutionary these shoes were, but every minute detail in the original silhouette has turned into an indelible part of sneaker culture. The Jumpman logo, which is now synonymous with the Air Jordan brand, featured MJ soaring through the air to slam the ball straight into the basket. After all these decades, it's such a signature element of the shoe that we just take it for granted, which just goes to show that the brand became bigger than the sum of its parts. MJ himself played an enormous role in the design process. When he was shown the first rough draft, he straight up told them he hated the colors. Surprisingly, Nike decided to listen to him. They didn't want to just treat him like another celebrity who'd smile and wave for the cameras. They wanted this line of sneakers to be all about MJ, and as a result, the Air Jordan 1s had MJ's unique creative insight interwoven into every layer. Now, musicians have been involved with sneaker collabs from the very start as well, and the genesis of this tradition found its roots in the same decade as the Air Jordan 1, but the brand behind the concept was different. While Nike was busy building a brand centered around athletes, Adidas decided to pursue musicians for their massive cultural influence. In 1986, Adidas collaborated with Run DMC to create the first sneaker collab with a musical group, releasing a customized take on the superstar silhouette. The gold accents paid homage to the group's trademark gold chains, and the year of the release splashed across the front for an unmistakable and unforgettable design that wrote the book for many musical collaborations to come. With current artists like Travis Scott and Kanye West creating buying frenzies with their customized designs, you can really tell how far the concept has come from the early days. The Air Jordan 1 has come a long way with newer iterations completely revamping the silhouette with bold new colorways and design elements. And musical collaborations have been reaching ever greater heights as well. So how about we take a look at some of the greatest collabs of all time. These sneakers were featured in chronological order, and since we've already discussed the Air Jordan 1, let's skip to another iconic pair from the 1980s. Number 1. the Nike Air Mag. The Air Jordan 1 had become an overnight sensation, and Nike was busy looking for its next big coup. Back to the Future 2 was coming off the heels of its widely celebrated and enormously profitable predecessor, and the producers wanted something special for the sequel. They asked Nike to design a pair of futuristic sneakers, and Air Jordan 1 designer Tinker Hatfield came up with the concept of self-tying sneakers. In 2011, Nike decided to push a release for the public. It is a highly sought-after shoe that reaches resale prices over $35,000. Number 2. Nike Air Max CB34. When Nike designer Wilson Smith met Charles Barkley wearing a pair of Air Maxes one day, the formidable power forward complained that they weren't very comfortable. This was a bit of tongue-in-cheek statement since Air Maxes are famous for making you feel like you're walking on a cloud. Smith decided to design the CB34 after this interaction, basing the jagged white accents off the gleam of Barkley's molars that appeared during his one-of-a-kind smile. Number 3. Nike and Stussy Air Huarache LE. Nike rang in the millennium with their first ever collab with a clothing label. Such partnerships are now a mainstay of the industry, but at the time it was still a pretty new idea. For example, Stussy was in no way allowed by Nike to place the Stussy brand logo on the shoes. Fun fact, later on they did become the first brand ever with their own logo on a Nike shoe. The Stussy Air Huarache LE became a widely popular pair with its light brown suede and unique gray rubber heel stabilizers that were released again in 2021. Number 4. Lil Wayne and Supra S1W. Supra was still its own brand back in the 2010s, before Korean fashion retailer F&F acquired the global trademark of Supra in October 2020. The skate shoe brand, founded in LA, managed to collab with one of the hottest rappers of the 21st century, Lil Wayne. The hip-hop star became famous for only wearing Supras in public, and the S1Ws are a great example of why those shoes are such a big deal. The oversized tongue and the almost cartoonish proportions push the boundaries of what sneakers could be. Number 5. Nike SB and Ben & Jerry's Dunk Low Pro. Now, back to the present. We chose to highlight this collaboration as it's something totally different than a musician, a sports player, or a fashion brand. It was hilarious news when the collab got leaked, but that soon changed when the first look appeared on the World Wide Web. But let me tell you this, the Ben & Jerry's Dunk Low Pros are real. It's the result of a company exec calling someone at Nike SB and the deal was done. The design features cow print, a dripping yellow swoosh, and sky blue accents, which shows that the collab wears its inspiration on its sleeve instead of hiding it. Now, you can see just how diverse the world of collabs have become, but at the same time, they appear to have lost some of their appeal. A bunch of factors are at play here, not the least of which is oversaturation in the market. Nike has released so many supposedly exclusive collabs that the word seems to have lost its meaning. Remember when a new Travis Scott collab would become the talk of the town? Well, resellers are being forced to slash their prices today, and the bear market certainly isn't helping matters much. Sneaker collabs once created snapshots of cultural moments, such as the countless anime sneakers out there. Remember in 2018 when the Dragon Ball Z collection came in from Adidas? It was a stellar moment that brought colorways ripped straight from the anime phenomenon into the world of footwear. But such collabs just don't seem like they'd be possible anymore. And who could forget the one-of-a-kind collab between Nike and Virgil Abloh in the Nike and Off-White collection? It brought the worlds of high fashion and streetwear together in a way that shook the collector community to the core, creating a line of sneakers that appealed to even the most discerning of sneakerheads. The collection featured enough refinement that people might not see sneakers as a form of elegant wear and were tantalized enough to get in on the action, but that's only because the hype was real back then. It's starting to seem like this collab won't be matched anytime soon, and that's a real shame. This obviously doesn't mean that sneaker collabs are going away. Nike and Adidas and other brands simply need to address some of the issues that are holding them back. The widespread availability of fakes on the market is making things even worse. There was a time when each collab brought something new to the table, something special. Now they seem to be a little more than marketing gimmicks. But this isn't an apocalyptic scenario. It all requires a bit of shift in perspective. Brands need to realize that collectors and regular buyers alike won't be fooled by slapping someone's name on a pair and calling it a day. Even a unique design isn't necessarily going to cut it, because something being unique doesn't necessarily mean it's good. What does the future of sneaker collabs hold? We'll just have to wait and see. But until then, at least we have the rich history of this tradition to fall back on.